Hi, we are Group 4, and we were given the task of reimagining capitalism. Now, how could we possibly come up with such a task in which we had to show the potential that our current capitalistic system holds of reaching stakeholderism, sustainability, and shared prosperity? Well, we started by mapping out the main problems of our current system and showing how they are all interlinked amongst each other. Now, as you can see from the map, we decided to put profit maximization at the top, as we believe that coupled with short-termism, they are one of the main underlying causes of all the other problems of our current system. If you look at the overall map, you can see how three feedback loops were created, and then around them many others. I will focus on those. The first one goes from short-termism to financial speculations. Finance is not bad in itself, but with the aim of short-termism and profit maximization, it leads to high and inherent instability, as companies are not able to invest in the long run, as people short their stocks and keep on buying and selling their assets, which makes it impossible to have a steadily and constant outlook on the future. Then, when problems arise, they are fixed with a short-term outlook, and this leads to inherent instability in the long term. And the more unstable the system is, the more people are gonna focus on short-term earnings, as in the future you don't know if you'll get them. And this creates this positive feedback loop. From here, we can go directly to alienation, which starts our second feedback loop. And well, short-termism, as companies cut costs and try to maximize profits again, the workers get less and less, and they become more and more alienated. Alienation, in terms, leads to consumerism, as people try to escape their day-to-day problems by buying material stuff. And this, well, it directly brings to environmental degradation, as more and more products that are not really needed are sold every day. And then the more the environment is degraded, the more the society suffers and the more people resort to buying stuff. In a world in which value is defined only by profit or utilities, people are almost welcoming of the increased commodification of our society. As commodification does not stop in the market itself, it expands, going on to and creating a political market where the super rich and the elites have more and more power over political decisions. This in turn leads to insufficient public goods, which, coupled with more and more commodifications, make inequality count even more. The discontent generated by inequality then goes on to the government, which further loses its grip on society. From here, we can even go on these outside loops, which, for example, from political market, we end up into oligopolization being possible. And then oligopolization further pushes higher rise inequality that again enhances the loop. While on the left side, we have commodification that leads to excessive private property and then once more insufficient publicity. As you can see, all the problems are quite interlinked between each others. Well, now that we have a better understanding of our current situation and where we have to work, let's go and have a look at the solutions.
Hi, I'm Anna, and I'm going to be talking about our solutions to the problems that our current system has created. What if our economy didn't just revolve around profit, but instead care, equity, and shared value? The system we're creating doesn't just tweak capitalism, it moves beyond it. Today, so many public goods, like safe spaces, healthcare, and clean tech, are either privatized or just out of reach. By promoting solutions like patent pooling and the right to repair, we expand access and give people more control. And by reclaiming what were once privately owned public spaces, we create real open places for communities to grow. We also want to address how deeply commodification has shaped our lives. When everything is treated like a product, even time, care, or the environment, we lose sight of what truly matters. And that's why we push for cooperatives, B Corps, and co determination to build workplaces grounded in human dignity, not just efficiency. B Corps legally commit to measuring success not just by money, but tapping into ecological and social issues. A big part of this transformation is reconnecting people to meaning. Many feel alienated, isolated in their work, or overwhelmed by noise. Things like mandatory volunteering, creative work days, or job sharing or simply time offline can spark purpose and trust again at work and in life. jobs not only focused on efficiency and productivity, but about well being. But to make any of this real, we also have to rethink power. Right now, public markets and lobbying give corporations too much to say. We want governments to act more boldly, like investors, supporting innovations with patient capital and keeping the value they help create. And lastly, let's stop measuring progress with just GDP. When we focus instead on well being, education, and happiness index, we open up a future that puts people on the planet first. This isn't a fantasy, it's a system built on empathy, cooperation, and long term thinking. And it's already beginning to take shape. We just need to push forward.
The elements in our map are very interconnected so that the pros of some solutions may outweigh and reduce the cons of the other ones. And I want to explain it on three examples. So the first one is how the vegetarianism, a very sustainable and ethical mode of living, may unintentionally cause the decrease in physical self-expression. However, this may be addressed by introducing creative workdays, which promote substitution of the consumption as a form of the physical expression to the creativity, art, and movement. Another example is carbon taxes and how they may lead to the inequality and impose unequal financial burden on the low-income households, which cannot afford the high cost of living and clean energy. But this may be tackled by the universal basic income, which ensures that basic needs of everyone are covered. And last and not least is democratic discourses. They fuel the communication, but due to their inability to communicate effectively, this idea may have the controversial effect. However, we suggest to introduce critical thinking as a mandatory component of the education, and this will develop necessary for the debate skills of the citizens and promote a deeper thinking so that they can engage in a democratic discourse.
Our version of capitalism may seem overwhelming at first, so let me show you how, once you get the stone rolling, everything falls into place. Take a look at the mandatory volunteering day, for example. By participating in such an initiative, you can see directly how there are businesses that are directly impacting people's lives for the better. This means that you will be more incentivized to invest in those exact corporations. Additionally, by seeing other people's lived realities, it encourages minimalism and conscious consumption, since you will be able to witness firsthand how people are able to live happily with less. Lastly, the shared values of collaboration and purpose is exactly the same as found in co-determination, cooperatives, and B Corps. Then, by implementing this, you can further help other solutions as well. For example, co-determination will directly impact how easy it is to implement high to low salary ratios. Since the workers are part of the ones who are making the decisions, they will be able to more easily aim for practices that benefit them, such as a high to low salary ratio. Another one of these practices is job sharing. People are able to decide for themselves and democratically implement those solutions much easier in co-determination practices. Lastly, a creative workday, same as with the job sharing, encourages people to be able to take advantage of their work and own what they do. This, again, is much simpler when there is the ability to directly influence policymaking. From here, let's talk about another policy, Tobin tax. By seeing how Tobin tax in itself will help make financial markets more stable, it'll be possible to see a future in which there is no short selling. Additionally, it encourages patient capital by discouraging the selling of stocks quickly. From here, let's take a look on this other side, sustainability labels. Sustainability labels have several positive effects. For example, they encourage land ethics by showing us how every action we have is connected to the natural world and our environment. It also encourages minimalism by making us conscious of how something that we consume will impact others. It'll make us want to consume more sustainable or, better off, even less. Lastly, it also helps implement informative advertisement. Because sustainability labels are a form of informative advertisement in itself, it'll be easier to switch to this larger scale and people will be more willing to accept it since they've already been exposed to it in some way. Then, lastly, let's take a look at the apagon. The apagon, or a digital blackout, will directly encourage idle moments, since this will be a time where people are able to just simply look inwards, reflect, and breathe. It also encourages more techno-realisms, since it stops us from being completely reliable on technology and makes us see how it is possible to live with less direct connectivity.
Look around you. Nature doesn't rush. It doesn't compete. It grows together. And that's the shift we're looking for. We're moving from I win to we grow. From isolated competition to mutual care. From burnout and consumption to dignity, shared purpose, and meaning. This is not about fixing capitalism with smarter policies and nicer words. It's about rewriting the cultural code, how we see time, how we see work, how we see each other, and how we see this planet, not as a resource, but as a shared home. In this new economy, success is collective. Work is not a cage, it's a contribution. Leadership is not dominance, it's co-creation. And consumption, it's intentional, not compulsive. We repair instead of replace. We slow down instead of burn out. And we collaborate instead of compete. This new version of capitalism isn't a perfect map. It's a compass, a direction. It's a guidepost utopia, not a fixed one. We need shared values that help us imagine better futures together. So we end with this, a new culture where meaning is over growth, where solidarity is over ego, and care over control. That's not a dream, that's a choice, and it starts now.